So Matthew, can investors add to Netflix positions off the back of this, or is it time to get a little more cautious on the stock, given the fact that we haven't seen Squid Game essentially translate into the numbers here, at least for now?
Well, we actually have a sell on it. I have a fair valuation of slightly below 500. I haven't been a perma bear on this. I've had buys and sells, and I even upgraded once directly from a sell to a buy. But I think it's definitely maturing in North America. I think Asia is a bit of a slog. I mean, particularly given the interest in the Korean market in Squid Game, and I don't want to just completely focus on Squid Game. I would have expected the Asian numbers, 2.2 million was a nice number. It wasn't anything wonderful. And like so many US companies, and to a lesser extent, European companies, I think they're finding that India is much more of a slog than they anticipated. And certainly there's very robust competition there, both from global media companies, the hyperscale tech companies, and don't underestimate Bollywood as well. So no, I'm not excited about this stock. I think it will be increasingly viewed as a media name that is subject to a lot of competition rather than a category killer, tech name, where I think the market much too optimistically assesses it in that category.
Okay, interesting. Look, Matthew, on another topic though, Netflix has also started talking about non-video related business activity as a means to enhance the growth profile of the business beyond the current subscriber offering. What do you think video games might look like, for example? This is something that management mentioned on the earnings call.
Well, I think both video games and merchandising are somewhat interesting. I suspect everyone watching this broadcast will be wearing a Squid Game costume this Halloween if they celebrate Halloween. I think the video game business, I mean, they're taking a very disciplined approach, doing selective acquisitions. I think that focusing on the mobile side, and they're really trying to improve their retention, where they have a linear hit. If they can move the content over to the video game side, that's something that makes a lot of sense. But I don't think it's going to be a profit center in its own right, and it's a very difficult business. I followed the sector for a while. It's probably more hit driven than the movie business. And I think it makes sense for Netflix to participate, but it certainly isn't a game changer in my estimation.
Right, so that's not something that's likely to fuel subscriber growth going forward, in your opinion. Netflix saying that it expects to add 8.5 million subscribers in the fourth quarter. Is that a bit of a dystopian fantasy going forward? They say it's going to be predicated on a lot of new content coming out in the fourth quarter, but what do you make of those forecasts?
They're right around consensus. We were actually about 1 million higher than that going in. And it's difficult to predict hits. I mean, I think that some of the returning shows like The Witcher, La Casa de Papel, et cetera, fairly predict. Even another rendition of The Tiger King, another dystopian show, if you will. Those shows are a little bit more predictable. And then movies. One thing that's real interesting is I think a lot of their success has been conditioned on some very strong TV shows, and movies are a little bit more ephemeral. I mean, they haven't been doing them quite as long, and we'll see how the shelf life and the recurring activity is on the movies that they're doing in house. But they're unquestionably engaging some top A-list Hollywood talent for movies like Red Notice and all that.